Hey guys, welcome. It's Yvette again, also known as Illuminated Wisdom. So I wanted to give you guys part 2 right now. I did a part 1, so if you want to go back and look at that, it's called Decoding the Matrix. I tried to simplify but go over a lot of really important ways to decode the Matrix. I talked about what it was. I decoded the movie The Matrix for you guys. And I also told you guys a little bit about religion. We pretty much just talked about mental and spiritual enslavement in that episode. So now we want to go into decoding the matrix. Okay, so now we're going to go and start decoding the matrix. It's one thing to recognize it. So that was what the last video was about, was recognizing that matrix, and now we're going to decode it. How do you understand it, right? How can you play this game and still, be aware of what's going on? Okay, so I talked about the Apple logo, right? So the Apple logo, Apple being like iPhone with iMacs and all that stuff, right? So when we look at that apple, it's a bit in Apple, and we know, if you ever have, studied the Bible in some way, you know that Eve, right, the first woman, bit into the apple, and the apple was forbidden to be eaten, right? Because it pretty much, in some of the later texts, it starts saying that she bit into the apple and she saw all the wisdom, but it was somehow it was a sin or whatever, and that was just the fall of man, and this is why, all this shit went down. But let's just, take a step back. So that big corporation, we already know it's a very powerful corporation. It's called, Apple iPhones, iMacs, everything to do with the I. Yes, they use the letter I, but what we'll get into later with the alphabet is, and the words in English, is all words are related. The words that sound the same, you say them exactly the same. It has the same frequency, right? Same tone when you use that word. All those words like wait, the other, all those different words, even though they mean different things, at the end of the day, they are related, they're connected. So let me show you. So the letter I, being me, right? I, a person, is also, it sounds the same as the eyeball. When you look at someone's eyes, when we talk about the Illuminati, right? When we talk about the Horus, the all-seeing eye, the Illuminati, let's just say, with the dollar bill, ripped off that symbol because the eye of Horus is really the inside of your brain. That's where you perceive, the reality is in the brain, and it is shaped like an eye in some way. So if you want to do your research on the eye of Horus, if you haven't already heard of that. And so the Apple logo is the forbidden fruit, the fall of man. And literally, I do feel like technology and cell phones are killing us in a way, not to where, we're not talking about radiation, but I mean, in general, with the way we use it, some people are just so addicted to virtual reality, being social media, being video games and all that stuff, that I just feel like it is the fall of us. But at the same time, it is knowledge, it gives us wisdom, it helps us to connect. So it's not a definite bad thing. Nothing is only bad. There's always a lighter side to things. You just have to look at it that way. So yes, it helps us communicate and it helps us connect. So not to say it's evil, but these corporations have this ancient wisdom. So like I said, the Eye of Horus, that's ancient wisdom. These corporations are owned by people who are very powerful, who have, gotten their power because of being able to study and manipulate the mind, right? And so they know a lot of stuff from the ancient, from our ancients, from our ancestors, from way back in the day. And, just think about when they did book burnings. What was the purpose of that, right? It was to delete the knowledge from before. And what happened was, when they did do these book burnings, they kept a lot of sacred books, and they only kept one copy of it, and it stayed with very powerful people, or it stayed very locked up in sacred places, not just the Vatican, but in locked up places like people's mansions, right? So that stuff is really going on. So it's not a coincidence that they use the forbidden apple as a logo. And there's other companies that do this. Google itself, the Gmail symbol is an ancient symbol. Do your research on that. It's the Google Gmail logo. The Masons used that symbol because it didn't come from Google, it came from the ancients. And they use it, they have a little bag right here that the Masons wear, and it's shaped like an envelope. And the Masons were doing this before Gmail even, occurred. So these powerful people that have this powerful knowledge are the ones running these powerful companies that we're all very influenced by. And we don't even know where these symbols are coming from, but they're taking them and using them as theirs, hijacking it, changing the meaning. So that's what they're doing. So this is that we're already decoding like really deep right now. This is just the beginning. So we talked about ancient meanings, and going even further, right? Even the Facebook logo is Masonic. It comes from an ancient symbol, the dollar bill, right? Like I said, the eye. So now talking about movies. So if you don't already know, I'm going to show you the connection right now between the government and Hollywood, right? The media. Okay? So if you look at movies have symbolism all the time. Ancient symbolism. When you study the occult, which is, when you get into metaphysics, spirituality, spiritual enlightenment, and you start looking at things like that, you notice in movies that there's ancient symbols everywhere. Obviously, the Illuminati, which is really the media, but the Illuminati is actually the celebrities, and all of these celebrities are all cover-ups for the real people who are in power. They're not going to show their faces. They're behind the screen, always watching and sending their little soldiers. So the celebrities are that. They're like soldiers, and they're just like that. They have their assignments. They have to influence the masses in a certain way through their movies and stuff like that. And we know this because we see the way that they portray these people. And so all that stuff is in movies. When you start studying the occult, like I said, you will see all of this. Once you start paying attention, it will be there. And people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, because you think Steve Jobs is the owner of Apple, but he was just the face of Apple. And they used a fake story. They even created a documentary, which they always do with these famous people like Bill Gates. They even have one about him now. They create these documentaries like Obama, and they give you what they want you to know. Why would they tell you everything? They're going to tell you what they want you to know or what they want you to think. They're not going to give you all the truth. Oh, these people are in bloodlines. They've been in power for so long. It's an unfair world because if you're not born into the family, you don't get in, right? So watch The Family. I think I already mentioned that. Watch The Family on Netflix. You'll understand exactly what I mean. And so even Elon Musk is a puppet, a face for someone else, for another entity or another corporation, that it goes really deep, So if you think like he's the one who created SpaceX, he's just the face of it, and they use his story as a cover-up because they don't want you to know who the real powerful person is. They want you to like this puppet so you can be influenced by it, so you can be mesmerized by it. Okay, so spiritual organizations are keeping all of this knowledge, right? I talked about Facebook. If you watch the movie, like I think I said Hacked on Netflix, is where they show you the Google and Facebook. Like I said, they use Masonic symbols, so the Freemasons do own them, even though there are other secret societies that are even more powerful than the Masons. The Masons are just more puppeteers that are doing their dirty job to influence the masses and keep the secrets, right? And then people who are Freemasons themselves sometimes don't even realize how deep this goes. They're in it, sure, but you think they're gonna tell them, that they're manipulating everyone and really keeping this hierarchy, secretive? No. And then secrets are not allowed. Like when you learn more about karma, the more secrets you have, the more the more karma that you're bringing for yourself. Because if you're not telling someone something, it's what kind of intention is that, right? If you're keeping something from somebody, if you're lying to them, think about the intention that goes into that. So it's all karma, right? And so we see these documentaries, they make us think what we want about these people. Even we saw that Dr. Sebi was being covered up by the government because he was healing people from cancer. And then we're going to actually do a video about healing next. If, I talk about it all the time, but a specific video on healing, because at the end of the day, Dr. Sebi didn't heal anyone. He helped people heal themselves, right? Because the body heals itself when you take away all of the toxins, when you take away all of the bad stuff that is killing the body. It starts healing itself, just like when you get a wound. Okay, so all these people were really influencing us, like Britney Spears, Nickelodeon stars. All these people were influencing the children, because when you get the minds of the children, you have the minds of the future. Imagine if you brainwash a child, which the government very much has. I have friends who have been part of these experiments, okay? And if you want to reach out to me and ask me, oh, what about that? I will definitely show you them. Like, I won't tell you exactly who, but I'll tell you their story. You can research that stuff yourself, but I'm not going to put them out there. But they've been in programs where, because they had special gifts, they were being monitored and they were being recorded, and they were taken to a therapist or a psychologist to see what was wrong with their episodes or why they were seeing things. And they obviously were keeping data and keeping track of this stuff. So when you brainwash a child, when you brainwash someone that is young, imagine if you tell them that, let's just say you have a child and he's 4 and he starts asking you questions, right? And then you tell him that the moon is made of ice. You just tell him that, and then he goes on believing that for the rest of his life, because you embedded that into him. So when they brainwash the children, Disney, they brainwash the future. So they have a lot of adults right now under Disney's spell still. So, but spells get deep. Like, when we're talking about spells, think about spelling and alphabets. This is another occult secret if you don't already know. The language, the English language, not just the English language. Every time you speak a word, you're using chakras and organs, and you're evoking those energies. So when I say a word, I'm using the word, I'm evoking that energy. Words are magic. That's why when you pray, when you recite things, when you do affirmations, the more you evoke those words, the more energy that you're surrounding yourself with those words. So if you do the experiment, if you look up the experiment, you can try yourself, where you have 2 plants that are the same size, and you water them both, but you speak illy to one of them and you speak very beautifully to the other one. You say you love it, or it's beautiful, and you say all these nasty things to the other plant. You're gonna see within a few days that the one that you're speaking bad to is gonna start dying, and the one that you're speaking well to is gonna look beautiful and grow. And this is the magic of words and evoking, spelling, right? The alphabets, alpha, beta. So look, your words are powerful. Watch the way you talk to your children. Watch the way you talk to people, okay? Because, the government knows that these societies, they know this, and they don't teach us this stuff. They don't teach it to you in school because they're enslaving the children. So this is why I'm so against public school, in case some of you guys are like, what the fuck? She's talking all this shit about public school. That's because I work at a public school, and I see it every single day. If you study astrology long enough, and you look at the evidence of flat earthers, not to say that the earth is flat, but if you look at the Flat Earth Society, and you become an astrologer, and you study the way that the stars move around the earth, you realize that the earth really is the center of the universe. And the reason they used to believe that back in the day was because it was true, until somebody hid the knowledge and made this a heliocentric solar system and started enslaving all of us, making us think that we live on this earth that we can go and travel far out to, like if there's no God. So they're replacing God and religion with science. Even with the vaccines, you can no longer get a religious exemption. It's about science. And they don't even use facts. But we're not going to get into that. It's not that video. But words are magic. You have magic, right? When people talk about witches, what's a witch except for someone who's using positive energy and positive affirmations? There's a difference between witchcraft or when you're putting a hex on somebody, right? Because when I was younger, I was exposed to this type of knowledge. It's different when you're trying to send bad energy out to somebody, put a spell on them, put some bad, make some bad shit happen to them. All of that will get turned around and thrown back at you. So witches don't last very long because of that. When we talk about bad witches, or people who are afraid of witches doing witchcraft or voodoo, if you do bad energy, you're going to get that shit back. So you're either going to suffer when you die, you're going to suffer a slow death and be very weak and very ill because of the way you treated people, because of the energy that you put out, or, you're just going to die normally because you did good stuff, right? And that's what life's all about too, is karma, learning how to exchange energy the right way. So when you do magic, like if I did a ritual tonight, this weekend, there's a full moon. Let's say I want to take a nice bath, put some herbs in my bath, because I love to do that, light a candle, and I call that a ritual. that is me aligning with myself, connecting with nature, connecting with the water, you know, detoxifying myself of negative energy, because herbal baths detoxify your body, but they also detoxify, you know, negative energy, like sage. Sage is a plant. You just light it up, and that spirit, that energy is clearing out the space. It's true, it's real. I mean, if you're in a Catholic church, you even know they use that shit there too. So that's a ritual to me. When I cleanse myself of negative energy and recharge myself, love myself, that doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it black magic. Okay, we don't have to get, you know, we don't have to think about the witches that they taught us about in school in Salem, because that itself is also another program telling the children about that, you know, this and that about magic, and not really talking about even religion or spirituality to clear it all up. But you want to scare children with magic, and, you know, when you talk about these witches in Salem, but the people who own the government, that run the school system, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you know, George Soros, you know, his dynasty, when you want to talk about those people who are controlling these things, they put that information out there to separate you from the truth, because they themselves do magic. Okay, the Apple logo, using that picture, that symbol all the time, is magic. The IRS uses magic. Their money is magic, because they use a person's picture, they print it on paper. Paper is an element of the earth. I think I told you guys about magic. Magic is really just using elements on earth and putting intention into it. They wanted everyone to worship this money, and that's what they're doing. That's the money spell. If you haven't seen that video, I will probably do another one if it's not up on my Instagram. But the money spell is that when they do magic, they use a square, because square corners trap energy. When you talk about a circle doesn't trap energy because it continues going, or a spiral actually continues going. But when you talk about a square, the energy, the corner is called an oob. It traps energy, it traps light. So when you use a square, you're trapping the energy. Then you put webs on it, right? Like the dollar bill has, like most money has. It has webs on the paper. And then you put symbols on it, and you put a magnetic strip. You even add magic magnetic to it, and then you start telling everyone to work for this. Like if what we have, even just knowledge, or like let's say I cook, like that's not, you know, they act like that's not a resource. People think that money is the only resource because they're under that spell. So these people use magic, and they separate you from that knowledge because they don't want you to know how powerful you are, because they don't want you to use your power against their power, because they want to stay on top. So that's this whole game. We just decoded the matrix right now. So once you take notice of all of this, you begin every single day, you will see deeper truths. Now that I've, you know, decoded this for you, I broke the spell for you, you're going to see the truth every single day now from now on. You're going to see the symbols, right? You're going to see all that in Hollywood, in the movies, in the government, on your fucking birth certificate. You're going to see all that magic that they try to do on us. That's why everyone is so under this fucking deep state. If you don't know what the deep state is, do your research, because you might be a part of it. But the deep state is people who don't understand this knowledge and still think that all this shit is a conspiracy, because they don't understand, because they haven't really done their homework, because they're judging others that have already done it, because they might not really feel like they want to believe that. So I hope you guys like this video. If you can, give me a thumbs up. I mean, honestly, it only helps because it helps give me a bigger reach so other people can see it on their feed. And if you can share it, that'd be great too. But I hope you learned something, and I hope that I'm helping you little by little understand this world and how your purpose is a big, you know, it's very important. We'll talk about purpose and spirituality and all of that in the next one. Peace out.